the first demo today is the reloadable configs. Not all configs are reloadable, but the base functionality and some patterns for how it should work is implemented. And thanks to Sasha for reviewing it and picking apart all the thread safety issues and everything. It's finally in. So I'm running a local Gerrit. I just want to show the output and how it works. So let's add a config value, change the config value, add a new comment link, and remove the comment link. Something like this. So I save, and then I do a reload config, and we can see the applied configuration changes and how it was changed, which new values was applied, or modified, or removed. And this is now applied on running Gerrit instance.
Cool. And all of them were accepted now?
I just changed those that I know worked. So the thing is, you can accept or reject. Sometimes you perhaps change the data source and do something that you won't accept, and you can reject the changes. But we will only show output for changes that actually affect the running instance. As an administrator, I want to see after this config reload how the behavior of our Gerrit servers changes. So this is not like a config text diff. This is how the running instance is actually modified. Mm-hmm. And it's a quite simple implementation. So the problem with updating config values is that pretty much everything in Gerrit is use singletons, and you inject the config values in the beginning and set up your objects, and then they can never change. So we're introducing config listener, where you will get the config updated event. It contains the old config, the new config. And so when I issue for instance, let's see here, a reload. I just want to mention, if we issue a reload, everyone that tries to inject the Gerrit server, the Gerrit server config will get the latest one after the reload too. So request context and stuff like that will automatically be updated, but we still want the administrator to have that information. So, but here we are implementing the Gerrit config listener. I have quite a few helper commands to help you figure out if your part of the config has changed. For instance, we ask the event, has my section been updated? And yes, it has, so we reparse the configuration, and then we return everything we accept all the configuration changes since we could parse the config. So this is all the code that is necessary to actually update the comment links. For suggest reviewers, since this is not a singleton and continuously refreshed, we don't actually need to do anything, because when the, let's see here, where
down at the bottom.
So every time this one is created, when you press a key or something, here we have it. Yes, it will get the new values, but we still want the admin to know that the values has been changed and it can be picked up. And Dave suggested this pattern to make it even easier. We just have accepted change and our config keys that we know will be picked up. So we get that output. And finally, we have another example, SSH log, and I think this is probably the most common case. It's a bit more complicated. We check if our request config has updated. And then we accept it. But here we check if, because you can introduce the request log value as true, but the default value is true, so nothing has changed. So we don't tell the administrator that, because maybe he gets tricked that it started logging when it hasn't. So we only check for when our state has changed when we actually start logging or stop logging. In that case, we accept the event, and as you saw, the HTTP request log configuration change. So these are like 3 patterns. I think that those will cover most of the things that it works. And Sven is implementing a REST API point for those that don't have SSH interfaces.
Could you mention something about how the listeners are registered? So you have to find them somewhere.
Exactly. Plugins have the ability to just annotate as a listener, and it will be picked up by Jeeves and injected into a dynamic set. We cannot sadly do that in PolyGerrit, so we still need to do. Let's see. Yeah. This is the line. Just bind gerrit.config listener to what provides the class. And for the suggest reviewer, which was even easier, it's we just bind it to the always accepting instance, since this is not a singleton where you need to actually refresh the values yourself. So we have just this small one that defines which keys that will be applied if the keys changes. Alright, that's it. So I hope we can continue implementing extension points, especially for the caches. So I think that's one of the things we update the most. Alright, thanks.
Do you have like a proof of concept of updating the cache size dynamically? Because those are like found as singletons very early on.
Yeah. In worst case scenario, I guess you have to invalidate the cache.
No, like there's like there's a single cache instance, and you can't change the size of the cache at runtime using Guava, like the Guava interface.
No, so if you cannot scale it up, we need to figure out, do we really want it to actually empty the cache and restart it like a fully, that would respond to a fully invalidated cache. Is that worth it? I don't know.
Yeah,
we
okay,
need
so
to think
you
about
haven't
that.
actually tried this and succeeded at it.
No, it's just something
I
we would
agree,
like.
It would be nice.
Because, I mean,
Sorry that it's hard.
it's probably the most common thing you change the configs for.
Yeah, totally agree.
I won't be able to go back easily, but I can. I think it should be okay. So the first thing is just really simple, and I don't know if you've ever seen like when you type in your browser and you tab, that a sort of search within a specific site thing pops in. So it's the open search standard. So I was working on adding open search support to PolyGerrit, and you can just see like a really quick demo. You type whatever your host is, and then it adds a little search thing, and it'll just open Gerrit with your search query. So, yeah, that might be kind of handy. Just do your search in one step from the browser. And then the other thing I was working on was the mobile navigation within the admin section of PolyGerrit. Admin's been sort of implemented in the past year, but the design didn't really fit well with mobile. So for since adding it, we've basically just been hiding the link to get to it on smaller screens. And I worked on a way to be able to navigate. So I'll show you. You can see it here. The browse button's now there. It's got the admin links, also plugin generated admin links. You can go to any of the top level list pages, and from there, once you select an item, you'll get sort of an inner menu, and you can navigate to the inner pages that way. And then you'll see this is sort of like the desktop view of it. Whether we keep both navigation like options or not. I'm not entirely sure yet. But yeah, so that's what I've got. I'll just replay it quickly, but yeah. Any questions on either thing?
Especially the search is pretty nice.
Yeah, neither one is completely merged yet. But hopefully they will be soon.
This search will make a lot of users happy.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a really quick little demo. This is really mostly a cosmetic change, but picking up on, just like this is a randomly selected change of mine, if you look through the log, there's all sorts of things that happen, and this is obviously the existing UI. One thing I commonly do is just expand everything to make sure I see everything and find out what's going on. So it hasn't completely landed yet, but this is at least the new UI in its current state. So you can see lots of these events. There's no expanded or collapsed states. There's just kind of differently emphasized events, which all show up as kind of like these small events, basically, in that timeline, and comments and activities by human reviewers show up in these boxes to try and emphasize them.
Do you think those labels before the last patch is not important? Because they are out of date some kind.
I think they're important. Because I always remember, okay, there was one command combined with the -1 vote, and then I searched for that.
I mean, especially for the one from Gerrit's watch thing, like from robots. I mean,
It does give you a signal, maybe, of how
Yeah.
consistently passing the changes or something. If that's caused a lot of cycles. But, yeah. Also, I guess if it's are copied forward, then it makes sense to show them in the past. But yeah, that's all I have.
nice.
So I'm not gonna show you any demo because it would be boring, because what I did was just a plugin that splits out a Docker Compose file, so I thought it was quite boring. But I just wanted to show you some stats about this week and some consideration, because it's my first hackathon, so I was quite happy to participate and have some takeaway. So an overview from Monday. So basically we've been working on 9 projects involving like 20 authors, 8 organizations, and 255 commits until half an hour ago, more or less. Well, you can see the trend this week. You can tell something was was going on, and Wednesday was the big day. And now you can see that there are some holes, some patterns in these histograms, and it's what they call the Wallenberger effect, which is lunchtime, which actually correlates with the number of Jenkins slaves going down, and it's quite interesting that to see that we got up to, I don't know if you have any number about the previous hackathon, but this is the maximum number of slaves that we have, that went up to 32, thanks to Han and Lucas' work. Top company committers, well, Google first, but I'm glad to see that Gerrit Forge is there. Not much my contribution, more Lucas' contribution, that he was pinging me at 2 a.m. talking about the problem with Docker and networking and fixing Jenkins plugins.
Who's Gmail?
That's a bug. But, top committers, David outnumber everybody. So. Yeah. I'm not there, but don't tell Luca. This is one of the metrics I like, the average number of files per commit, which is around 4, 8, 3. And I think it's quite interesting as a metric. Of course, I think it's one of the metrics that can give you some insight on your code quality somehow. Because, I mean, if you have to review like 4 files in a commit, in a change set, it's okay, it's doable. But it's not always like that. So I really appreciate that, in particular in open source project and in Gerrit, usually the change set, they are quite easy to review because you can get the context of what's going on. So takeaway from me, for me personally, on the bright side, I put some faces on the slices that I've been seeing for this month on this pie chart, which is always nice. Everybody's been super useful, in particular for me, which I'm a super beginner with Gerrit, so everything is new. I mean, even writing a plugin for me was like, wow, where do I start from? And I appreciate the effort for the onboarding of new users. I'm among the new users. I understand the concern about the initial onboarding again. So it's quite difficult. It's something different from what you see around the other tools. So I really appreciate the effort. And the food was really good. So I think I put on weight. I didn't think so. On the dark side, it took me a while to get my plugin working, which is it was a bit annoying. My car stopped to work on buses, which I cannot explain why, but the bright side of it is that I'm traveling for free. So so that's pretty good. I think that's it. That's it from me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This utility actually was like in review 1 month before the hackathon. It didn't pick any attention. So I asked Edwin if he likes it, and he liked it. So when you like review someone's changes, let me just open something, make it a little bit larger. Oops, now it's too large. I've already opened something. So often, if I want to like give comments on something, and I want to refer to code in another class, I would navigate to Gitiles to provide a link. Right, so what I typically do is, okay, how do I navigate to Gitiles? If it's not here, then maybe, okay, it's not even possible from this UI, so I switch to old UI.
Yeah, you can if you click on that one.
Okay, but if I want really to go to the branch name, like how it is in some branch, okay, I can maybe click from here and navigate and search the file, or maybe I want to show how it was in another branch. Then I have to go here, pick the branch, navigate down, and so on. So I was thinking, I spend most of the time in command line, and what if I just can tell like Gitiles open, and it brings me to the Gitiles of the currently checked out commit. Okay. Another thing is I can say like if I'm in some folder, and then I can say Gitiles open. I'm in that folder. And if I want to really compare, I can say I want to in that folder, but like in stable 215, so I'm in that branch. And with just a few clicks, maybe here and line number, I have a link to paste in my code review. So this script is available in the config folder. It's called Gitiles. So that can probably further improve. And I just need to add it to your path. And there is one more thing. It requires one-time configuration. You need to set Gitiles URL. It could have been done that it detects automatically where it is. I didn't spend time on that. Yeah, so that's it.
Nice.
Would it be possible to, for instance, use different URL, not Gitiles? It's basically it just pastes.
Yeah, so it assumes Gitiles URL scheme. So
Okay.
if you say branch stable 215, so it assumes branch is this one. So what I'm going to show here is like persistent replication events. And if you run replication plugin, you configure it in like replication config. And sometimes you replicate only a couple of projects, but often you replicate all projects. And every time you restart Gerrit or you reload the plugin, there is this option like replicate all on startup, and this will trigger replication of all projects, all references at startup. So it will like fill replication queue with depending on size of your Gerrit site, it will fill with like huge number of replication requests. And normally you have only a couple of threads replicating, so it takes like 1-2 hours to clean up the queue. And why is it done this way? It's like the idea is if you shut down Gerrit, there might have been unprocessed replication events. So when you shut down, you may lose replication of some. So this, just to make sure you did not lose them, you just replicate all. And to address that and to eliminate need to replicate all, I implement this persistent replication event. And now I'm going to show how it works. So here we have master site, and under data we have replication plugin storage, and we will just watch what happens in that storage. So right now it's empty. There is one subfolder for ref updates. In this window I'm running just Apache and Git HTTP backend, which is receiving replications. And here I clone the project called foo, and I will create a change now. And Gerrit is running in Eclipse, and I think let me check shortly. All breakpoints are switched off, so good. So I have a script which just appends a line to a file and commits and pushes. So let's do.
Could you move it to the side so you can see all the boxes on the recording?
What should I do?
Move it to the floor.
Oh, okay. So now let me create one change with the master branch and push it. And observe this window here. So you see there was one event persisted. Now replication is received and event is gone. And this is how it should normally work. So let's just repeat it once more in case it goes too fast. Now I'll set breakpoint in Eclipse. It's not really like important to see this. I just want to stop replication, to like simulate crash. Okay, now event is persisted, and let's say Gerrit crashes. Stop it. So event is still there, and we can now take opportunity and see what it is. So it basically persists information that for project foo, reference refs gets mastered. It needs to be replicated. It's a JSON format. So now let's watch it again and start Gerrit again. So it loaded plugin replication. Just continue, then event is gone. Processed. Okay. Yeah, so with that change, we can now switch off that option, replicate all on startup. And Gerrit restart should be more smooth. Okay, so this was about replication, and I have one more unrelated thing to show, which is really like small thing. I don't know, do you want to like make new
so
reporting?
do you retain the order somehow? Order of replications, like looking at the file data or something for your events?
No, just all files that are found there. I think the replication plugin takes care about it. So, like, if you have two events for the same ref, they're basically merged into one, because replication plugin is not looking at like commit IDs.
Yeah, I was more thinking about when the replication queue grows, you probably want to first in.
I don't even know if there is guarantee that when you submit to the queue that they are processed in that order.
Oh, okay.
So, submit requirements. I've made a simple plugin to show you how to create your own requirements for having a nice UI and communication, and improved communication with your users. So first I define my requirement, which is unresolved comments. So the user will see that he has to resolve all the comments. First step, I check from Gerrit how many unresolved comments there are. I handle the errors because I'm a nice person. And then I do my logic, so if there are unresolved comments, I say it's not ready, and if they are not, then the change can be submitted, assuming the other rules are okay. And in the UI it looks like this. So it shows resolve all comments. As you may see, there's a pretty red cross which might disappear depending on the change to become I don't know how to say this word.
Check mark.
Yeah. If the change is a work in progress, we also have a submit status saying that, well, it can be submitted because it's a work in progress. And I also moved the labels here, so it's easier to see, and we don't have need label verified or need label author cannot approve, etc. things. And so, yeah. This part of the UI is still a change that will be submitted soonish, but the implementation point and the extension point are ready, so feel free to use them.
Nice.
Cool. If anyone has questions or...
I have a question, because I'm not sure if this red cross is indicating now label verified. Is someone gave -1 already, or it requires? So I think we need 3 pictures there. Otherwise, it's a little bit confusing.
Right.
Damn, your eyes hard. Sorry for that.
The final UI might have this, which is a word I don't know how to say in English. Hourglass, I think. And it will probably look more like that. So, free states or maybe more, failed, in progress, failed for another reason, and, well, valid. Do you think it will be better, or do you still have concerns?
Oh, it's better. I mean, I just wanted to see when it gets minus and when it requires something. So it was not reviewed and was reviewed with -1. That should be basically clearly visible in UI. If that's the case, then I'm happy.
Thanks. Nice.
But it's great.
Perhaps the red exclamation mark will work for that. It's the one for merge conflicts.
Yes. I'm not totally sure, and PolyGerrit team may confirm, but this was more to be used for internal server errors, like, oops, I can't access the database. Okay. So,
I'm not sure about that one.
But merge conflicts is not a...
We do have, like, the requirements can fail for internal reasons, too. That might be one good.
It's just an idea.
Yeah.
Like it was -2 code review.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Making persistent caches backend swappable. There were various ideas how to achieve it. Finally, we agreed that we'll try to deliver it as a library module. There is a way of loading very early kind of a plugins, like library modules. So that took a little bit time to agree how to properly done that, how to easily done that so that it's not affected too much. While getting there, we had to a little bit untangle memory implementation and persistence implementation of caches. Was also on the way. Because the main idea is to just get rid of the H2 because it slows down bigger sizes and it's kind of it requires additional workaround for HA because both instances have to more or less synchronize some caches. This way we could just use, external database and they can be connected to it and it's perfect. You don't need to synchronize events and stuff like that. They will be in cache anyway, at least to some extent. So basic idea was to swipe out the persistency with Postgres-based persistency. I know there are the others, but since this is a library, they can follow the same pattern and develop another libraries for that. It will be easier. Currently on review, there is a code change to allow that easily, but it's not very invasive, and I hope it will get reviewed, at least some feedback. Topic is cache persistency or something. I'll write it down later. And this is actually working. I swipe out the persistent caches with Postgres, and it basically works. Currently, I just got some early feedback from Dave, which is about because I just took the H2 implementation and just make sure that it works with Postgres database. But there are some things that are not necessarily needed there, so I'm just ironing it a little bit out. But the library has its own repository in Gerrit already, and it will be today published, so that if anyone is interested, they can just start swiping the persistency. We'll probably do that for next collaborative release, because we are using Postgres anyway, and it's easier for us to retain it this way. Yeah, so this is it. Thanks.
Hey everyone, so I have one more demo for you. This time I was working on theming for Gerrit, which resulted in a dark theme for us. We're all pretty familiar with this normal PolyGerrit UI with its normal syntax highlighting theme and everything like that. We already provide an escape hatch to allow certain hosts to specify their own CSS variables for things like the header text and the app colors. Basically, all I did was add way more. And so we have a ton of constants defined now that still need documenting for sure, but in app-theme.html that you can then override with a plugin. And so I've got a material theme for our syntax highlighting here. I've overridden all the colors to be darker, easier on eyes, because I'm a big fan of that on various sites. You can style pretty much everything individually, but I'd recommend you sort of find a palette and stick with it, or maybe just change a few things to sort of result in some branding for you. I've styled pretty much everything, including like the code review colors. I have to fix some jank with like syntax highlighting in edit mode. But yeah, and I think what's coming up next is, or maybe it already happened. Okay, here. So all you have to do is uncomment some CSS variable definitions to get different syntax highlighting themes. And you can just specify any colors you want. So if there's one thing about our app that really bothers you, you can swap, the link color out for orange or whatever you want. Right now it just works as a plugin, so these settings will be per host. And they'll have the weird side effect of not applying immediately, only when the plugin's loaded. So there's some work there for me to do to make that better, and maybe add an actual theme picker and things like that. But for now, this should let you customize your host a bit more. Yeah.
Together with admin, I developed a new API we can use. For instance, right now I'm right now part directly in Change IT. It's an abstract daemon test. And what you can do there now is inject those two objects, count operations, group operations, and I think I wrote something for projects. It's still in review, I haven't seen it yet. So when you have those, on here we have payment API. That means when you want to create an account, you can just say new account, and to recreate it, you just write create. It will create an arbitrary account. It will make sure that it gets a unique ID assigned and set all the mandatory fields, and you can just work with it. You get a test account here. On this test account, you have several fields like account ID, full name, email. The SSH key is only possible or working when you have gotten SSH test. With the username here, this is not an exhaustive list. It's just like we started with some attributes. That's something we have to extend further when we need further guided use. The same applies to like here for the new account. We can also set some fields, like for instance, let's say we want to set the username. So we just write username and write a name here, something like that. Or I can also say let's have a full name. If I want to have that. And for instance, if I want to clear something, like say explicitly on the task, it's important to not have a status. I can just say clear status because the default object, which is created with new account, doesn't make any guarantees about what is set there. It's just set, well, the only guarantee is that it automatically works if you just use it. Like, you just write create. But apart from that, tasks should always specify what preconditions they need. And for groups, we have something similar, like say group operations. And you can create a new group, say create, directly have a new group. And for the groups, I already added quite a lot of fields, actually all we have internally. So you can specify everything and get everything back, like the group UID, which was more automatically created, or let's see, we have like here the description, all the members which are currently on the group, the subgroups, the owner UID. And you can also directly set them here. Like set a name. Automatically we generate one which is unique for all of the tests, even if you don't specify one. But if you do, if you say, okay, I want to have a name here, this one will be directly picked like that. So if you want to ensure it's unique among your tasks, because you're sharing context, you have to make sure of that. What is special here is for the members, because you can say, okay, these are the members I want to have. Like, for instance, account we already have. Account ID, probably another one. This is just the set we take as initial numbers. But you could also, instead of this one here, say add member, add subgroup, change that, and all of those will be added. So that's for creating. What we also have is like this one here. This starts like another chain of operations. You have to specify an account ID, like for a possibly existing account, but it doesn't need to be. Like you can also ask, does this account exist? The one with this ID. You can get it. Like for instance, you're doing some operations, want to load it again, and then want to check for some values. And you can specify how it should be updated. Like specify another name, clear the existing one, and so on. And at the end, say we set another username. At the end, you just say update. Then it will be executed. And for groups, we have the same. We can also say, we can also query whether it exists, get the current group which is in the database, which is in NoDB like that, and also set another description, clear the current description. We can add members to the group. We can also, something here. We can also just say remove, and if the group doesn't contain that member or that subgroup, it will just do nothing. If it does, it will remove it. It also helps, like, if you want to ensure that this group doesn't contain anything, you can also just say clear. Clear members, clear subgroups, and that will take care of it. Is there anything else? You just go over what you need. Yeah. That's most of it. What is important is that this API is just for like setting the context, modifying like the internal state of the server. It's not for testing our APIs. So whenever you want to test the Java API we have or the REST endpoints, you should do that call. But everything else for like setting up, modifying the internal state, or like retrieving or like checking whether the internal state of a group, of an account is in a specific way, you can use that API.
This API is using the internal API
Yes.
to create groups.
Yes.
So it's also bypassing permissions.
Yes, that's important. You don't have to make sure that you're an admin or whatever. You can just modify what you want. I also started to do that for changes, but it's not done yet. It's a bit more complicated. But the idea would be to also say, like, just write it. Maybe have something like change operations, new change, and then, for instance, you can say, okay, like it would automatically go to master, but then you can say, for instance, file, then write here a path in here, then say content, something like that. So probably just another file here, and so on. And specify further attributes, and in the end just also say the create. That's what I was working on, but it's not finished yet.
Is this only for testing, or could like plugin developers use that?
At the moment, it's only for testing. What we could probably do at some point in time is take the implementation out of those implementations of those operations, move them somewhere inside of the server, and then just delegate from the tester and then use it for plugins. But at first, I'm just trying to get this right for our tests. Also write tests for like those things, because I currently just have those implementations, but they aren't tested yet. Yeah. And the idea would also be to have something like something similar for permissions, or maybe even like aggregated things, like you can say create admin group, which automatically creates a group, sets the appropriate permissions, and you can just use it.
The data you create deterministic, is it? If you do like a new account twice, is the data inside? For example, the idea of the account is always the same, or?
Like the internal ID we have on it would be different. So anything which you want to have fixed should be specified here. And for instance, things like the ID, UID for group shouldn't be hard-coded except when you specify it somehow.
So it's not deterministic across runs if you just like call, if you have a single test that calls new account once across runs, that'll be different account IDs?
depends on the other tasks which are executed before that task.
Well, it's also good.
Any other questions? Okay.
Looks good.
Thank you.
Yes.
Because we used to be able to delete the inline comments, like here. Because I'm admin, I can specify a reason because it's a doc. So delete it, right? So now we can also delete the change message, like here. There is button, but I think it's still moved on the right side or somewhere. So now it's the same thing. You can just say that. Yeah, no reason, just so delete it. Actually, the shitty thing is the name is disappeared because I have an assigned value for that, but I have very shit there. So it's a small problem, but yeah, it's shitty. So, but anyway, it's working. So it's just rewriting the whole history. So the message is completely gone. So yeah,
That's cool.
In your project config, I think this will probably most likely be in all projects. You can like configure a role, and then you set different permission for that role. So you have like create review, add patch step, and label code review and range. So as you can see, this is only useful if that create review and add patch step stuff that this gets in. So once you've done this, it should be easy for a new user to start a project. They want to add some people as a developer. All you do is add a group or several groups and give them the role developer permission. And they in turn will, for that ref, gain those permissions that I put on the role.
So I've been working on Gerrit as a more secure platform, and it's not that there is some security problem there, but for now, if you have this SSH command and you put some password maybe on the parameter, it will be locked on all of the Gerrit logs. So as you see here, the password is locked and clear path. So that I try to add an annotation there so that you can, if there is something that you want to hide from the log, you can add this annotation to the parameter and it will be masked. So yeah. And currently the change is in review. So if anyone wants to see that, so this just happened in one occasion now. Is the Git importer plugin. So like it's not really a matter for now. Okay.
Can you annotate any log argument or what is that annotation?
The parameter, yeah, any parameter. So it identifies it.